Hi, just a quick kind of few thoughts on the task, the weekly task from week two last week. Just a few things that I would have been hopefully if you were discussing it in the groups, what I would be just thinking about is looking at risk. What operational risks were you thinking about? What were reputational issues? And what was behind how you viewed and rated it? What we classify things, or don't we, as low, medium, and high risk, but it's based on a lot of different elements. So what were we thinking about that was part of that? Um, did that affect whether we saw it as a low risk or a high risk? And what were the factors? Because often when we dig down, it's not just the facts that affect us, it's our feelings towards things, or it's how we view our perceptions of risk that we talked about on the session. Things like previous experience that we've had. We had a previous experience that's very similar to what we're seeing, and that's going to cloud our judgment. Also, the history of the incident type, history of the organization, and how that affects us, and the biases that we have, how we view what we do and how we view situations. As you see, there's lots of different kind of factors that can come at play. And also the emotional triggers. So again, if you're dealing with a situation that you may have had quite a bad experience with in the past, then we'll have those emotional triggers. And I've had that literally just in the last week, when I was talking about the Manchester Arena, and I could feel a whole range of emotions kind of come to the forefront. And could that have impacted on what I was saying? Yeah, it really could. So I have to be aware of that. And I think when you look at the risks that you were talking about, those are the kind of key things to be thinking about. Also, the tone, how people see things differently, how people view your tone and attitude towards things differently. And we looked at that with the heuristics and the neuro-linguistics and those other elements. And if you remember back to the crisis com session with Dan when he was talking about tone points, not just message points, I think that's another important factor to consider. What was the kind of tone around it, and could we see how others would see it differently? Um, was there that kind of awareness, that situational awareness? And also how we have to get agreements with things, don't we? So often we've got to discuss these risks and how we view them and get an agreement. Um, and that's where I think when you start to look at the insight into outreach, it becomes really important. It's that kind of negotiation, that consultation, listening to other views, taking them on board before then you decide what course of action you're going to do. So being open to other perspectives and other views. And we'll pick up on this in the coming weeks, particularly next week, week four, when we'll be looking at inclusive communications, and also next week, which is this week, which is the vulnerability piece as well. So I hope that helps, and I hope you got some useful insights into how you might be thinking about that outreach assignment piece, and what that can look like for the end of this module.